top 10 most important Sooners headed into the 2018 season, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Before I tell you about the top 10 most important Sooners for the 2018 season, I want to start off by giving you a story Jim Ross related in his podcast, The Jim Ross Report. If you don't listen to The Jim Ross Report, it's a podcast on the Westwood One Podcast Network. I listen to it. JR gives great insight into wrestling, the WWE, what used to be the WWF, and sometimes relates some stories like this one about Baker Mayfield and what Baker did to help him through one of the roughest times in his life. JR said, when my wife got killed last year, during the summer when Coach Riley got named the head coach at OU, ESPN called me to come to the stadium and do an interview. While I was there waiting my turn to record the interview about Riley's ascension and Coach Stoops retiring, Baker was there. He came up to me and he had tears in his eyes. I thought something was wrong, something occurred to him. He saw to me and he got tears in his eyes because he knew what I was going through with losing my wife. He gave me a big hug. He said, JR, I just want you to know I love you and I'll always have your back. Even today, when I think about it, my eyes get teary. Fast forward to the fall, I was at every OU game. I always stood down by the end zone and watched the guys warm up early. Every game, he came over to me and gave me a big hug. He'd say, JR, I love you. Remember, I'll always have your back. If I had a son, I'd want him to be like Baker Mayfield, I swear to God. Now that is precisely the kind of character Baker Mayfield displays everywhere he goes, and why we, more than any other fan base, including Cleveland, will have his back because he's a good man with a good heart, and that's our quarterback. Now let's get into the top 10 most important Sooners for the 2018 season. At number 10, I got fullback Jeremiah Hall. Hall is a redshirt freshman with an extremely tough task ahead of him. He has to replace the multi-back, the do-everything back, Dimitri Flowers. Flowers was recently picked up by the Jets after leaving OU with more than 1,000 yards from scrimmage, most of it was receiving, and 17 total touchdowns. Now I know Carson Meyer is an upperclassman, and I like Carson. I got to follow him around at Union for a feature that I wrote, but he's much more of a blocking back, an Aaron Ripkowski kind of back, than a versatile Swiss Army knife that Jeremiah Hall was recruited to replace. At number 9 on the list, I have tight end Grant Calcaterra, who also has to replace a living legend at OU in Mackey Award winner Mark Andrews. But I think we're okay here. I think Grant Calcaterra is in a really good position to pick up right where Andrews left off. He's got the size, he's got the hands, and he's gonna be a cuddly safety blanket for whoever wins the starting quarterback job, whether it be Kyler Murray or Austin Kendall. More on that in a minute. At number 8 on the list, I have defensive back Brendan Bookie Radley-Hiles. Bookie's already turning out to be the most versatile defensive back in Mike Stoops' secondary as an early enrollee, let alone a true freshman. I think he's going to see a lot of the field in the early parts of the season, especially at nickelback and some safety, but he's most important because Bookie can represent a turn toward the better in Mike Stoops' defense that was ranked 87th in the country last year, and Bookie seems to have the same kind of swagger of the last Heisman winner, that be Baker Mayfield. I think if he can inject that kind of energy and take no prisoners attitude into Mike Stoops' defense, we could see some great things from a defense that has certainly seen better days. At number 7 on the list, I have Will linebacker Caleb Kelly. Kelly is arguably the most athletic linebacker of the entire OU Sooners linebacking core. And it's clear that Mike Stoops is putting a lot on his shoulders next year by moving him to the Will linebacker spot to keep him on the field alongside Kenneth Murray Jr. for more plays instead of having to take him off the field when he's replacing that Sam linebacker with a safety. I think Kelly can do it, but learning a new position is not easy, especially in Mike Stoops' defense. At number on the list, I have another linebacker, Curtis Bolton. Curtis Bolton has the most experience of anybody in the linebacking core, and he's played 3 out of the 4 positions in Mike Stoops' defense. Those are Mike, Will, and Sam. He had to play some jack linebacker, but he's big enough to do it if he needed to do it in a pinch. We're gonna rely a lot on his experience to help anchor that linebacking core that Kenneth Murray Jr. is gonna have to lead as a true sophomore. And number on the list is tackle Bobby Evans. Bobby seems to be the shoe-in to replace an All-American and the best offensive lineman to come out of OU since Lane Johnson in Orlando Brown. Now we know Bobby has a lot of snaps over at right tackle, and he looked good during the spring game. I expect him to be the starter at left tackle, and all things seem to be pointing in that direction from what you hear Bill Bedenbaugh say about Bobby. At number on the list, I have Jack linebacker Addison Gums, who after the display during the spring game seems to be the heir apparent to Obo Okonkwo, the defensive player of the year for the conference, and the star in Mike Stoops' defense. Addison has the size and the speed, if not the experience, to succeed Obo, and I think if he has a great year, so will this defense. And number on the list is defensive tackle and nose guard Neville Gallimore. Gallimore has been a guy that we've been expecting to step up for a while now. This is his defensive line now. He has to take over it, he has to take ownership of it, and he has to be that guy in the middle commanding double teams. It's a big ask at a position that is crucial to working Mike Stoops' 3-4. At number on the list, I have quarterback Kyler Murray. Kyler has the biggest shoes to fill in that of Baker Mayfield, who is a college football legend. But if anybody can do it, it's a Texas high school football legend named Kyler Murray, who at present continues to hit dingers for the baseball team. Breathe. We're gonna be okay. He's gonna be our quarterback in the fall. Yes, I think Austin Kendall could beat Kyler Murray out, but I don't think it's likely. I think Kyler isn't nearly as accurate as Baker, but who is? And I think his ability to run with the ball is gonna be a big part of Lincoln's offense in 2018, which leads me to the number one guy on the list. That'd be running back Rodney Anderson. Rodney is the Oklahoma Sooners spirit personified. He's fought back from injuries, he's big, he's strong, he hustles, he runs through tackles, and he has the speed and the size to really be the offense in 2018. And I think breaking in a new quarterback in a system where we still run the ball more than we pass it, Rodney Anderson is going to be pivotal. He's already a 20-to-1 odds favorite to win the Heisman Trophy, and a lot of the national media is going to focus on what Rodney does to denote how Lincoln Riley's offense looks post Baker Mayfield. All right, that's it for me. Deuces.